Okay, this is the Git AWS GitHub repository. So as I said, AWS CLI is basically again an open source. Right? If you see the AWS CLI, you get good documentation, right? And you get steps to install, configure, and you also get basic commands and things like that. AWS S3 LS, AWS help, AWS -FN version, right? And you get a lot of things, and you can also reach out to the support. I mean, there's support available. There's also a discussion forum just on CLI. If you just go here, this is a complete discussion forum only on CLI. Okay, so now that's kind of available. Okay, and then also you get so much of other support for CLI, right? So there's some accelerators and things like that which are available. Also keep watching the AWS developer blog. You'll keep getting announcements like this. Okay, earlier this year there was an announcement that CLI version 2 is available, generally available, right? So you will get to see that. Okay, and yeah, so you will basically get a lot of good things from this blog sites. So you can just go to the blog home, AWS blogs, aws.amazon.com/blogs, and just read through it. Okay, it will kind of give you a good sense of what's happening in AWS. I mean, you may understand, you may not understand. That is secondary. But my suggestion is just start going through this and start reading some of these blogs, right? And I mean, at least those terminologies and those jargons is something that you will start learning while reading blogs. Okay, so read as many blogs as possible, right? I mean, not only on AWS. I mean, in any tech subject, you have to read blogs. You have to understand what's happening around the world. You have to understand what's going on, with respect to that particular field, right? And also you have to write blogs. Okay, you have to contribute to these blogs. There's so many sites where you can contribute to blogs, right? Medium.com is there, right? You can go to medium.com and you can write blogs in medium.com. So it's a very famous and very authentic site, blogging site. Okay, in fact, if you see here, there's some AWS thing happening, or you should never ever print in a Lambda function. Somebody has written a blog. Okay, and dzone is another site, dzone.com, right? You can also write blogs in dzone.com. You see, you get to see a lot of articles on cloud here. If you go to cloud, you'll see a lot of articles on cloud. Okay, so it's important you keep up with what's happening. Okay, all right, so there's so much of content available, so you can just read through these blogs, and also just visit the github.com/aws, right, which is the repository for AWS, AWS's all the open source tools that are available. Everything is actually present out here. You'll get so many examples and you will get so many samples. Okay, if you see here, SageMaker is a AI/ML service, right? You get some examples here and samples here. Sample code you will get. And AWS tools for PowerShell. I was talking about PowerShell yesterday, correct? PowerShell is it's a shell environment for Windows, right? Which provides a lot more flexibility and it's a lot more powerful than the standard CMD, command prompt. Okay, so you get you get to see this, and you can actually install this, and you can make use of this if you're a Windows person. Okay, if any of you want to understand more from a Windows perspective, you can do that, right? And you will get so many things out here. Okay. In CLI, I'm just trying to see if there are any examples available. Okay, if you just search for CLI, you'll get everything here. Okay, I don't have any samples or any standard CLIs that are available, but you can just visit this AWS-CLI I mean, this is the branch that AWS uses to build their CLI environment. And it's an open source. Anybody can view it. For example, if I just go inside this, AWS, oh, you have some examples here. See? Yeah, you have some examples here. If you just go here, if I search for S3, I just go to S3. Yeah, S3 CP. Yeah, you get so many examples here. See, copying a local file to S3. How do you copy a local file to S3? This is how you copy a local file to S3. Okay. Copying a local file to S3 with an expiration date, you get to see this. Copying a file from one S3 bucket to another S3 bucket, you can copy. But of course, that IAM user should have access on both the buckets. Okay, like this, you have so many examples here. This is what I was actually looking for. Fortunately, I found it. Okay, and you get so much. For every command, you get so many examples. RB is a remove bucket. You can delete a bucket through using RB command. S3 sync is where it syncs local files to S3. Okay. S3 sync. You will use this S3 sync very frequently in when you use CI/CD pipelines. Okay. Similarly, S3 API is there. If you have to use an S3 API, this is how you go. And here you get like put object as an S3 API, correct? That's not an S3 command, that's an S3 API command. Put object. Yeah, see this? It's a put object that you get an example here. So practice these examples, right? And similarly EC2. Yeah, EC2. Go into EC2's. Yeah, EC2, you have so many examples. Oh my God, it's like a huge ocean. Yeah, you see so many examples that are here, right? I'm just looking for run instances. Yeah, so this is basically to launch an EC2 instance. Okay, use this, execute this, you'll be able to launch an EC2 instance. Okay, you have to pass the AMI ID. Where do you get that AMI ID from? Okay, you get that AMI ID from, I'll just show you where you get it from.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, and what
Yeah.
is FTP credentials, sir?
FTP credentials. FTP is file transfer protocol. So FTP is used to transfer file from one location to another location. So whatever
Okay,
credentials that you use for FTP, that credentials becomes the FTP credentials. So what is the context?
the in the WordPress website, sir. When I tried to install one of the themes, sir, it asked for FTP credentials, sir. Username, password, and host name, sir.
Okay.
So I'm asking
Okay.
whether
We are trying to install a theme. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Even I'm not sure, how to install themes. Probably you have to read the documentation further. Okay. So if you go to images, right, and if you go to public images, right, you get this image ID, right? So this is the AMI ID. Okay, like for example, you want to search for Amazon Linux. 2, right? I mean, if you see, these are all flavors of Amazon Linux. Okay, so Amazon Linux 2, right? You can actually pick up this one, or you can also go here. If you go to instances, when you launch an instance and when you select an AMI, right? So this is where you grab the AMI ID from. Okay, this is where you grab it from. Okay, this is for x86. Pick up the x86 one, not the ARM one. So pick up this. So once you have that, so then come back here, put the AMI ID here, put a slash -hyphen instance type, t2.micro -hyphen key name, give your key name, then you are done. Okay, and then you get the output here. So I'm going to give you this entire documentation. So go through this. You can do some examples of CLI, right? Out here, and you get so many examples you get here. In fact, for every service, there is a CLI. Okay, you can use that CLI. In fact, I'll just go to EC2 only. So if you see create a VPC, right? In fact, VPC will be part of EC2 only, okay? Because these two are services that are very closely linked to each other. So that's why you won't find a separate VPC as a CLI, this thing. So it will be part of the EC2 only. So if you see create default VPC, yeah, or create VPC, create-VPC, yeah, create VPC. Also, you get a example here completely, right? So if you see AWS create VPC, you give the IPv6 block and IPv4 block. That's it. It's just going to go and create that VPC. Okay, AWS EC2 create VPC. Just give -hyphen cider block. Yeah, it will just go ahead and create it only with IPv4 cider block. Similarly, create subnet. Yeah, see create subnets. Yeah, see create subnet AWS EC2 create subnet. You give the VPC ID and give the cider block for the subnet. Similarly, route table. Create route table. Yeah, so you create a route table and you also add a route to the route table. Create route, give the route table ID, destination cider block, gateway ID. What is the gateway ID? Okay, so this is how you create a route table. And then similarly, you can do a lot of other things. You can create IGW. Control F, create IG internet gateway. Yeah, see here, create internet gateway. Yeah, you can just AWS EC2 create internet gateway will just provision a new internet gateway. Okay, and then you have to associate that internet gateway with the VPC, correct? So that will be somewhere here. Associate, attach internet gateway. Yeah, see, attach internet gateway. You can attach an internet gateway with a VPC here. You attach it with a specific VPC. Okay, so now you have all of these examples. So it's like a gold mine. So just bookmark it. I'm going to give you this. Okay, go to AWS CLI and examples. Let me just give it to you in the chat right now, and then I'll give it to you later. I'll put it in the document and give it to you. Okay, cool. Okay, so now we have seen the AWS CLI, right? And we have seen the Python, how to install Python, and we have seen how to install Boto 3 framework, Python framework for AWS, right? And we also did some examples for AWS CLI, right? So now let's quickly shift gears to CloudFormation, right? Okay, what is CloudFormation? Let me just bring up CloudFormation. Okay, how many of you heard infrastructure as a code? What do you know about infrastructure as a code? Can somebody explain? I think someone did mention to me last time that you have done Terraform. Who was that? I forgot. Someone did mention that you've done Terraform. You have some little experience in Terraform. A32. Okay, very good. All right, cool. So A32, do you know what infrastructure as a code is?
Yes, sir. We can configure the whole infrastructure as a code. Means um, we need not to go to the console and we need not to step by step to do everything. We can simply
Mm-hmm.
uh, by selecting we can configure from VPC to instance everything we can do it.
And do it using as a code. Okay,
Code, yes, sir.
excellent, excellent. Thank you so much. So, so basically, if you see the paradigm is changing, right? I mean, today, if you see everything is software. Okay, in fact, there is a famous saying which says software is the new hardware. Okay, of course, hardware is there, but software is the new hardware. Okay, where we keep hearing some of these phrases, right? The catchy phrases like data is the new oil and things like that. So similarly, software is the new hardware is the phrase which is going around in this era, right? Because if you see, there's nothing, you don't need to configure the hardware at all, right? Hardware gets manufactured, hardware gets configured, and hardware is basically commoditized. Okay, like you don't have to do anything with hardware, right? You just buy hardware off the shelf from the market. Okay, and then you use the software to control your hardware, correct? And that's, I mean, gone are the days where, as I said last time, where network administrators have had a lot of jobs earlier. Network administrators, sysadmins, right? All these people had a lot of jobs because they had to manually log into every network device. They had to manually log into every other server device, right? And they had to manually configure all of those, right? And ensure that, they have all of that lined up properly, correct? But right now it's not like that, right? Where you have um, compatibility, right? And you basically have automation, and where you have scripts, and where you have automations, making use of their underlying compatibility with the hardware to make changes on the hardware at the hardware layer automatically. Okay, that's basically the infrastructure as a code, right? You're basically, infrastructure is physical, correct? I mean, where you have server, storage, network, compute, and all that. So that's whenever it is physical, it becomes a hardware, correct? But infra as a code, if you're able to represent your entire infrastructure as a code, where you don't have to touch a rack, you don't have to touch a server, you don't have to touch even a single wire in your data center, right? Everything is controlled with the help of software, correct? So that concept is called infrastructure as a code. I'm just going to share my screen and play a video. Just give me a second. Yeah.
When you're managing infrastructure, maybe you're using runbooks and scripts to create and manage everything. Version controlling and keeping track of changes can be challenging. And things get even harder when you need to replicate your entire production stack multiple times for development and testing purposes. But provisioning an infrastructure stack directly from a collection of scripts isn't simple. Wouldn't it be great if you could create and manage your infrastructure and application stack in a controlled and predictable way? Introducing AWS CloudFormation. CloudFormation provisions and manages stacks of AWS resources based on templates you create to model your infrastructure architecture. You can manage anything, from a single Amazon EC2 instance to a complex multi-tier, multi-region application. CloudFormation can be used to define simple things like an Amazon VPC subnet, as well as provisioning services such as AWS OpsWorks or AWS Elastic Beanstalk. It's easy to get started with CloudFormation. You simply create a template, which is a JSON file that serves as a blueprint to define the configuration of all the AWS resources that make up your infrastructure and application stack. Or you can select a sample pre-built template that CloudFormation provides for commonly used architectures, such as a LAMP stack running on Amazon EC2 and Amazon RDS. Next, you just upload your template to CloudFormation. You can also select parameters such as the number of instances or instance type if necessary. Then CloudFormation will provision and configure your AWS resource stack. You can update your CloudFormation stack at any time by uploading a modified template through the AWS Management Console, command line, or SDK. You can also check your template into version control so you're able to keep track of all changes made to your infrastructure and application stack. With CloudFormation, you can version control your infrastructure architecture the same way you would with software code. Provisioning infrastructure is as simple as creating and uploading a template to CloudFormation. This makes replicating your infrastructure very simple. You can easily and quickly spin up a replica of your production stack for development and testing with a few clicks in the AWS Management Console. You can tear down and rebuild the replica stacks whenever you want. Replicating a production stack could have been time-consuming and error-prone if you did it manually. But with CloudFormation, you can create and manage AWS resource stacks quickly and reliably. And there's no additional charge for CloudFormation. You only pay for the AWS resources that CloudFormation creates and your application uses. To get started, visit our website and launch your first stack with AWS CloudFormation today.
Okay. So what is a template? I mean, in general terms, in English template. Can somebody unmute and explain what a template is?
Structure, sir.
Yeah, structure, correct.
It's just blueprint, sir.
Blueprint, yeah.
Style sheets.
Style sheets. Okay, style sheets is in the context of HTML. But what is a template?
Rough model, sir.
Rough model, okay. What else?
Sir, it is a pre-built infrastructure.
Pre-built, I'm just talking in general terms. Just the English definition of template. Not an
Actually, when you click on template, it will create a copy of itself, sir.
Okay, create a copy of itself. Okay, what else?
Something that is already established and we use it as a reference.
Okay, something which is already established and we use it as a reference. Okay, next.
Yes, sir, something which is established already, and
Yeah.
we'll use that which is already there.
Okay.
Almost the same.
Okay, good. What else?
It is a pattern, like models.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Pattern. Yeah. Next.
It's like a farmer, sir.
It's like a
Format.
format. Okay. Got it. Next.
It's like a guide.
It's like a guide. Okay.
It is like a pre-designed document.
Redesigned document. Okay.
I mean, which
Next.
we can use for reference, which we can use as a reference.
Correct. Okay.
Before creating websites, we use templates like
Formats.
Yeah, before creating website, we use templates. Okay, if you were to create a blueprint of our website, it's a format. Okay, what else? Okay, cool. I think excellent. All of you have nailed it down what a template is, right? In general terms, a template is basically a blueprint or a format that you can use, which where you don't have to start from ground zero, correct? I mean, it's like Lego building blocks, correct? You want to build something, right? I mean, you take a very good example, right? So where these days building flyovers don't take too long, correct? I mean, it just takes a few, probably less than a year or so, correct? The reason is because the building blocks of the flyover is all templatized, correct? You have the pillar and you have the beam, right? You have the beam, right? The entire beam that runs across from one corner to the other corner. It's all multiple blocks, right? Each block is basically templatized, right? I mean, that's how if you see, if you all closely observed the evolution of how metro rail came in Hyderabad, right? And how it was constructed and how you are seeing metro rail tracks running right across the city, correct? I mean, they're all like completely templatized, right? If imagine if they were not templatized, and for every pillar and every beam had to be built from scratch, imagine how much effort and how much time it would take and how much of repetitive work, right? I mean, that's where, in fact, if you see even in nature, right? I mean, there are so many patterns available in nature, correct? uh, like the patterns that you see around us, correct? And also the patterns that humans have created, like for say building houses, right? I mean, when you have to build a house, you don't build everything from scratch, right? I mean, for example, you need a window or you need a door. The size of the door is templatized, and the dimensions width of the door is templatized, right? So where you just place an order for 10 doors or 10 windows with so and so specifications, they're all templatized. The carpenter makes that door out of the template and then he delivers it to you, correct? So similarly, you need a kitchen, right? I mean, you need to basically build a modular kitchen, right? The entire modular kitchen is templatized, right? When they construct your house, they will the mason or the engineers would ensure that the provision for modular kitchen is templatized, and then they leave exactly that much amount of space in terms of width and height and depth, correct? And then you bring the modular kitchen person. Okay, for him, the entire thing is templatized, so he will just bring that whole set from his factory and then he will fit it inside that, correct? So imagine, I mean, why things will need to be templatized. The reason is, if imagine if the same modular kitchen had to be built from scratch. Okay, so where the engineers don't follow a standard dimensions, right? Every engineer follows his own dimension, right? And every time what needs to happen is the modular kitchen manufacturing company would have to come. That person would need to come. He has to take the dimensions, he has to measure the entire dimensions, right? And then he has to go back, he has to place an order to build it from scratch. Okay, and that order has to go to the factory. And factory, obviously, anything that goes for manufacturing would take time, because manufacturing has got its own effort and manufacturing has got its own processes, correct? So now that's where it'll take time, and by the time it comes, it will be about several months, 2 to 3 months, before your part reaches your home, correct? Before your modular kitchen reaches your home. Similarly, take car, right? I mean, car manufacturing assembly line. You see, the assembly line is completely automated. Mostly 90% they're all automated. Okay, I'm not sure how many of you have seen an assembly line. Videos of assembly line, they're all mostly automated, right? Because you take the assembly line, every part in the car is templatized, correct? You take the chassis, it's templatized, and then you take the body of the car, and then you take the slot where the engine goes in. Everything is templatized. Even engine, the entire engine, the blueprint of the engine is created once, tested, modifications are made. After that, once the engine is approved and once the engine is tested, and once the engine is approved, it goes for production. When it goes for production, uh, they don't manufacture engine by engine. They just manufacture 1,000 engines at one shot, 2,000 engines at one shot. Okay, because if you look at the engine manufacturing assembly, they are all completely templatized. Okay, nothing needs to change. Okay, because it's the same replica of the engine needs to happen every now and then. Okay, so now the same thing applies in the software as well, or in the information technology as well, where if you take the infrastructure and if you want to build applications, and if you want to uh, keep build multiple versions of the software and deploy those versions of the software on the underlying infrastructure, the entire process, right from building the infrastructure, which is the underlying components such as your compute, storage, network, needs to be templatized. Number one, configuration of that entire infrastructure needs to be templatized, so that no single human goes and uses the console to create the underlying EC2 instances, VPCs, subnets, route tables, right? And and security groups, NACLs. Nothing needs to be done manually, right? So they are all templatized, and they have to be templatized using some automation, right? Similarly, if you take the application also, on the application side, you will write source code, and then you will store that source code in some repository like GitHub or other tools. And in fact, AWS has also got tools to services to manage the life cycle of your source code and build the source code and automatically deploy them to your underlying infrastructure, right? All of that is taken care of automatically. So now that's all needs to be, that entire software deployment process will need to be automated. After deploying the software, what will you do? You go ahead and test it. Correct? It needs to be tested properly so that all the functionalities of the software are working fine or not, right? And you want to ensure that the desired functionality of your software is able to serve its business purpose. Correct? So now then you need to basically create some test cases and run those test cases. That entire testing lifecycle is also automated. You don't need to manually, you only need to spend time and effort in creating those test cases and automating the test cases. But once you automate, it's a one-time effort and one-time activity. After that, you can just run it 100 times without any issues, right? And if imagine there are a certain public source code repositories, right? They have a nightly build. Every night there will be new builds that will be generated. Okay, in such cases, I mean, even companies do have processes where they do a build upon every check-in or upon every schedule. I mean, every day, like probably they would do builds 3 times in a day, right? And then what it will do is it will automatically build the source code and it will deploy the source code in the repository. Sorry, it will deploy the source code in the underlying infrastructure. Okay. Yeah, and if you see primarily, so that's where automation becomes very, very necessary and very, very essential. So now, what is CloudFormation? CloudFormation is basically a service that speeds up the provisioning of cloud resources on AWS with the infrastructure as a code construct. Okay, infrastructure as a code is a concept. Okay, like Terraform, CloudFormation, Chef, Puppet, Ansible, right? So these are the tools which basically uses infrastructure as a code to deploy the multiple versions of your code on the infrastructure, or even build the entire infrastructure. If you see, AWS CloudFormation gives you an easy way to AWS CloudFormation gives you an easy way to model a collection of related AWS and third-party resources, provision them quickly and consistently, and manage them throughout their life cycles by treating infrastructure as a code. The CloudFormation template describes your desired resources and their dependencies, so you can launch and configure them together as a stack. Okay, you create one full stack which has VPC, subnets, security groups, NACLs, internet gateways, route tables. On top of it, EC2 instances, key pairs, okay, and then deployment of software within the EC2 instances. All of that is taken care as a single stack. RDS, okay, creating an RDS, configuring an RDS, like the example that we did last week, where we deployed WordPress website, correct? That entire WordPress website can be templatized using a CloudFormation template. Okay, we can see that. Okay, as a single unit, as often as you need to, instead of managing resources individually, you can manage and provision stacks across multiple AWS accounts and AWS regions. Now, imagine, I mean, we are just doing, few examples here and there, correct? Just to learn the concepts. But imagine, you all getting into an organization, and the organization has got multiple AWS accounts, like probably, hundreds of or 20s or 30s of AWS accounts, multiple VPCs, right? I mean, each department, each business unit has got their own VPC. So now you are the AWS administrator for them, and you are asked to manage them properly, right? And also automate the entire infrastructure. So what you will do is you can't manage them individually, right? Because humanly it's not going to be possible. You just have about 8 to 9 hours in a day, right? Not more than that. So now within that 8 to 9 hours, if you have to manage everything or by yourself, it's not going to be possible. So that's where you have to use automation, and you have to use CloudFormation to the extent possible and automate your infrastructure worldwide. And CloudFormation integrates with almost every AWS service. It integrates with IAM, EC2, VPCs, RDS, and whatnot. It pretty much integrates with every other AWS service. Okay, and also you can also manage third-party and private resources within CloudFormation. And it's easy to write CloudFormation templates, right? It uses YAML as the format or JSON as the format, right? If you are comfortable with JSON, you can use JSON, or if you want to use YAML, you can just use YAML as a format and build CloudFormation templates, right? How it works, if you see, you build your code infrastructure using YAML or JSON format from scratch. You put that code in an S3 bucket, and then you create a CloudFormation stack using the code that you have uploaded to your S3 bucket, and CloudFormation script will get executed, and it will go and automatically create your VPCs or EC2 instances, and then it creates an output also. Okay, we are going to see that, and there's so much of use with CloudFormation. Okay, and you can just read through this, and it gives you a lot of like serverless applications. You can build complete end-to-end serverless applications using SAM, serverless application model. Okay. Okay, so for AWS is free. I mean, AWS, you don't have to pay any. There's no additional charge for using AWS CloudFormation with resource providers with AWS Alexa and custom. Okay, but in case if you're using third-party resources which you have provisioned from marketplace and all, there is a charge here. Basically, like it's very cheap. It's like 1,000 handler operations per month per account. It's kind of, I don't know, 0.0009 is I don't know what is the cent calculation there, but it's very, very cheap. But anyways, I mean, it's free for AWS resources. You don't have to pay any additional charges for AWS resources. Okay. Okay, so let me just go to the documentation as usual. User guide. Okay, so you can read through this user guide. Okay, and it will give you a lot of good information. But what we'll do is we'll just get started. Okay. As I said, you create or reuse an existing template. It's like a Word template, right? In MS Word, you want to create a document, okay, or an Excel sheet. Now, usually organizations have got templates, right, for all of their documentation needs, right? I mean, you don't have to recreate that document template from scratch, right? You don't have to recreate the document from scratch. Okay, it's all available. And what you do is you simply take the template, save as the document that you want, right? Like how I do every day, right? I mean, I give you assignments using the template that I have. I just simply save as, I just modify the date. I fill the contents with the today's content, correct? That's a template basically. So now similarly in CloudFormation also, you can just write a CloudFormation template from scratch, or you can take an existing template, modify the template as per your needs, and you can reuse it within your code. Okay, so that's basically how the CloudFormation template works. And then you upload it to an S3 bucket, or you just select it from your computer. Anyways, the moment you select it from your computer, it uploads it by default into an S3 bucket. Okay, and then you execute the CloudFormation template, and then that CloudFormation template will go create the entire stack for you, and it will, if it has errors, it will throw an error, or it will just successfully complete it. We are going to see that. Okay, we'll just do. Okay, we have an AWS account. We have, so no problem. There are some quotas for CloudFormation as well, right? Maximum amount of data that CF and Signal can pass a larger amounts and the data to an Amazon S3 bucket and then use it. I mean, so these are fine. So how many attributes you can map and things like that, you can just go through this. But anyways, right now we're not going to get too much bogged down by these. Okay, and there's something called endpoints. So now there are regional endpoints that are there in every region, because again, CloudFormation is a global resource, right? So there are several, AWS has got several regions, right? So now there are several regional endpoints that CloudFormation has just to reduce the latency. Okay, so when you work with the stacks using the command line interface or API action, you can specify a specific regional endpoint so that request goes to that endpoint. So yeah, don't worry too much about it. VPC endpoint, will come back to that later. Okay, let's get started. With the right template, you can deploy at once all the AWS resources you need for an application. In this section, you will examine a template that declares the resources for a WordPress blog. Again, we are back to WordPress. Okay, create a WordPress blog as a stack, monitors the stack creation process, examines the resources on the stack, and then deletes the stack. Okay, you use the management console to complete this. So last week, what did we do? We created a WordPress website all manually, correct? I mean, that was very much needed, because you need to know how to do things manually so that you understand the concepts. Okay, if you have to build an engine, you first need to build the engine manually, right? You need to know how many camshafts should I put on my engine? What is the capacity of my engine, right? What will be the efficiency delivered by my engine? What is the torque delivered by my engine, right? So you first, build the engine all manually, right? Once you build it, and once the template of the engine, blueprint of the engine is created, then you go ahead and automate it, and then you build assembly line which can build engines for you. Okay, so but here, what did we do last time? We just built an engine manually using on the WordPress. Okay, we deployed a complete WordPress block site manually. But here, what we are going to do is we are going to build a CloudFormation template which will build a complete WordPress site automatic. Okay, you just run that, sit back and relax. It will do all the hard work that you did last week. Yeah, so okay, fine. Okay, so now one small change that you will notice is it's going to use a local MySQL database for storage instead of RDS. We used RDS last time. If you want, you can basically change the template to exactly replicate whatever you did last week using RDS. Okay, but you have to just change the template. But in this case, in this example, it's going to build a WordPress block site that uses an single Amazon EC2 instance with a local MySQL database. Okay, the entire database is stored locally within the EC2 instance itself. It's not connecting to an RDS. Okay, if you see last week, what did we do? Yeah, so we did an RDS, correct? Okay, we created an RDS database and then we connected the WordPress to the RDS. But here in this case, this EC2 instance itself will have the database present within it. Okay, it's like going to be like this, something like this. This EC2 instance itself will have both Apache web server, WordPress running, and database is also present within the same EC2 instance. Okay, so that's the example that we're going to do today using CloudFormation. Okay, but before even we go into the CloudFormation template, let's learn the basics of the template, what a template consists of, right? A template is a declaration of an AWS resources that make up a stack. The template is stored as a text file whose format complies with the JavaScript object notation or YAML standards. Because they're just text files, you can create and edit them in any text editor and manage them in your source control system with the rest of your source code. Okay. In the template, you declare the AWS resources you want to create and configure. You declare an object as a name value pair or a pairing of a name with a set of child objects enclosed. The syntax depends on the format that you use. For more information, see the template anatomy. The only required top level object is the resources object, which must declare at least one resource. Let's start with the most basic template containing only a resources object, which contains a single resource declaration. Okay, so if you see, the topmost is resources always. Okay, so you first create a resources hello bucket. Okay, the resources object contain a list of resource objects. A resource declaration contains the resources attributes, which are themselves declared as child objects. Resource must have a type attribute which defines what kind of AWS resource you want to create. The type has a special format: product identifier and resource type. AWS : product identifier : resource type. So in this case, if I want to create a S3 bucket, AWS : S3 : bucket. You can go to this template reference, right? And it will tell you, yeah. So if I select EC2, yeah. So EC2. So these are all the resource types that are, sorry, I've selected ECS, not EC2. Yeah. So if you see, these are all the EC2 resource types that are possible, right? EC2, AWS : EC2 : instance, internet gateway, VPC, volume, EBS volume, okay, subnet, route table, right? So these are all very, I mean, I just showed you the CLI reference also, right, for all of this. Yeah, if you see EC2 instance, resource type is EC2 instance, and then you provide all the properties for the EC2 instance here. This is the YAML. This is JSON format. This is YAML format. Okay. So yeah, so let me just come back here. So let's take a look at a very basic template. The following template declares a single resource of type AWS S3 bucket with the name hello bucket. Okay, you're declaring a resources, and what is the name of the resource that you're giving is hello bucket, type AWS S3 bucket. The YAML for that would be like this: resources : you have to maintain space here, hello bucket : again maintain space because these are all nested elements, type AWS S3 bucket. If you use this template to create a stack, AWS CloudFormation will create an Amazon S3 bucket. Let's do that. Let's create an Amazon S3 bucket. Okay. Okay, I'm going to copy the YAML first. Okay, and then I'll just say, instead of hello bucket, I'll just say RPL okay, let's just come back here. Yeah, so you can add more properties to that. Okay, let's first complete the, you know, what are the basics of it, and then let's go to the lab session. Okay, so now here you're creating a bucket called hello bucket. Okay, so now if you come down further, right, you will have access to, you will have, you know, ability to add more properties to your CloudFormation template, such as access control. You want to make that bucket public read, then you just give access control as public read. Then you can give properties. You can give as many properties as you want here. Okay, and you want to make it a website configuration. Okay, we created a static website using S3, correct? So now you gave index.html, error.html. You can just mention those. Okay, so now here you are creating an EC2 instance. Okay, what is the type is AWS EC2 instance properties. You're referring an security group, and you're using a variable. Okay, variable is this is the variable instance security group. You can give anything here. This is like how you write variables in your programs, right? Java programs or Python or shell scripts. It's similar to that. You're referencing that security group here. Security group will use this as the object. Okay, this will be the object where it's a security group. You're defining a security group. Properties is description would be like you're enabling this. You're just giving some description here. And what are the ingress rules? Right, you're allowing TCP from port to port 22. What is the IP address? 0000/0. Okay, similarly, you can just create a security group egress. Okay, and here you're referencing to that security group and an existing security group. You already have an existing security group which you have created using console or previously you had created. You can just give that existing security group key name. You can create your key name. Image ID is your AMI ID. You can just give that. Okay, so here if you see, yeah, so here you're passing some parameters to it, right? Where you're passing key name as the parameter here. So these are the parameters that you're passing, which when you execute the CloudFormation template, it will show you a window where you have to select the parameters, right? And it will pass as an input to the CloudFormation template. Okay, so that's where you use the key name as the parameter here. This is the key name. You're referencing that key name out here. Always remember, exclamatory reference means it will reference a variable which is there here. It could be a parameter or it could be another variable. Like if you see this reference instance security group, it will reference this. Okay, this is again an example of another S3 bucket creation where you're also creating an S3 bucket and you're creating a CloudFront distribution for that S3 bucket. Okay, and the domain name, you're basically getting the attributes such as my bucket, my distribution or domain name. Okay, and then ID is my S3 origin. Okay, and then you're setting up your viewer protocol policy and things like that. You're simply creating an S3 bucket and you're creating a CloudFront distribution and you're using the CloudFront distribution to front end your S3 bucket. That's what you're doing. Okay, so you can also use patterns within your templates, your CloudFormation templates. Okay, what are those patterns? So patterns are, it could be regular expression patterns. Okay, WordPress user and WordPress, the default user is admin. Okay, and then allowed pattern is, this is the pattern, the password that you're passing for the WordPress user. Okay, so in fact I'll find out more examples and I'll find out more. In fact, there are tools available where you can quickly write your CloudFormation template. There are browser plugins available, and there are there are tools that are available. Like I'm not sure how many of you use tools like Atom. Okay, Atom is a very powerful editor. Okay, in fact, you can build complete source code using Atom. So how many of you have used Atom? Raise your hands. Okay, nobody has used Atom. Okay, so in fact, Atom is available for both Mac and for Windows. You can just download. It's an open source, IDE, integrated development environment. Okay, it has good, integrations with GitHub, right? And you can and it supports a lot of formats. Okay, it supports like HTML. It supports all these formats: C, C++, C Sharp. And the best part about it is it's an open source, and it gives you a lot of flexibility. And there are so many packages that you can download within this thing. And AWS CloudFormation also has got a package available for Atom. Okay, so you can, I'll explain that sometime later as to how you use Atom to build CloudFormation templates. For now, let's just stick to our a standard text editor like Notepad, TextPad, or Notepad++ to create our CloudFormation template. Okay, let's create our first CloudFormation template.
Sir, is like VS Code, sir.
Sorry, it's like what?
Visual Studio Code.
Yeah, it's like Visual Studio, correct? But Visual
Yes, sir.
Studio again is for primarily for building .NET applications, correct? .NET,
Yes,
ASP
sir.
.NET applications. But here it's a general purpose IDE. You can use this for building any code.
Yes, sir.
And it has got a lot of support for integrating with CI/CD, right, and things like that, Netlify, and things like that. It has very good Circle CI. You can integrate it with Circle CI. I don't know how many of you know what a Circle CI is. Circle CI is a continuous integration platform, okay, which can build code automatically for you and deploy it to your infrastructure. Okay, it's called, that entire space is called DevOps, right? So CI/CD pipeline. Okay, let's just go and create a okay. So let's just create a simple S3 bucket. Okay, so if let's just run this, let's see what happens. Let's just run this as is. I've just created I'll just say hello bucket. I'm just going to save this as CF means CloudFormation. That's the shortcut that we use. CF. Okay, create S3 bucket.yaml YAML. Okay, just create it like that. So it will automatically detect it, and it's an YAML file. If you see, it's an YAML file. Okay, so now what you have to do is you have to just go to your cloud your AWS console. In AWS console, search for CloudFormation. You'll get CloudFormation. Okay, and then right now I don't have any templates. It's all blank and empty. Sorry, I'll just shift to Mumbai region. Okay, right now if you see, my stacks are empty. Okay, but if you go to the home page, you'll get a button called create stack. Just create a stack. You get these options. Prepare a template. You have a template which is already ready, like what we have, or use a sample template. These are all the sample templates that are available. You can create a complete LAMP stack, Ruby on Rails stack, WordPress blog. These are all sample templates that you have. Or you can create a template in the designer also. You can just click on this to create template in designer. You can drag and drop. Okay, it'll actually allow you to drag and drop the resources out here. Right here, let me just select S3 bucket. Okay, so if you see here, I've just created an S3 bucket, and then here I can just go and change the metadata for the S3 bucket. And you can give conditions and things like that. You can give properties. If you want YAML, you can just choose YAML here. Okay, so within properties, if you want to know the properties of S3 bucket, okay, let me just do one thing. Let me plug this out. Yeah, if you want to know the properties of S3 bucket, AWS S3 CloudFormation reference. Yeah. So these are all the properties that it has. Okay, JSON, either you're good with JSON or good with YAML. Either of things should be fine. I'm more comfortable with YAML. So I'll just go for YAML. So where the type is AWS S3 bucket, properties. These are all the properties that are there. Bucket name, you can just pass string as the bucket name. Okay, you can give a bucket name string. Okay. Okay, so that's what happens. So now let me just go back. I'm not going to use the designer. Okay, I'll just go back. I'm just going back and leave the page. I'll just go back to the CloudFormation. I'll just create a stack. And template is ready. I have the template. If I can either upload my template to an S3 and just pass that S3 URL here, which should be accessible by the CloudFormation, or I can just upload a template file, right? In this case, I have the template file ready. This is my template file, right? Where I'm just creating a hello bucket. This is just a variable name. Okay, this is not the bucket name right now because I've not passed any properties here. So let us see what name I get for the bucket. Okay. And let me also open the S3 console parallelly so that I can show you what gets created. So right now I'm in the S3 bucket. I'm in the S3. I have only 3 buckets here, right? My RPL and some other buckets are there. So now what I'm going to do is to just go and choose the file. I will choose the file from my RPL folder, CloudFormation, create S3 bucket.yaml and open. It's going to do a validation. Okay. And then it will also upload it in a bucket. It will create a new bucket called CF templates. Okay. If you see, if I go back and refresh it, yeah, it will create a new bucket called CF templates, some 1.5 AP South one, and then it will upload this YAML file within that bucket, within the S3 bucket. Okay, if you choose to go with the uploaded template file, but if you go with an Amazon S3 URL, what you have to do is you have to create a bucket, upload that YAML file there, take that URL and pass it here. Okay, but right now we have only uploaded the template file to an S3 automatically, and then we are going to run it now. Okay, just click next, give a name, stack name to that. Okay, so right now if you see, what it has done is it has just uploaded the YAML file into the template into an S3 bucket, but it has not created that actual S3 bucket that we wanted to create. That has not been created as yet, so don't get confused between these two. Right now we have only uploaded the YAML file so that the YAML file can get executed from that particular location. It's just like a temporary location for you to upload your YAML file so that CloudFormation can pick up that, CloudFormation engine can pick up that YAML file and execute it from there. I'm just going to create a stack name saying that create S3 bucket is the stack name that I create. There are no parameters defined in my template because it's a very simple, straightforward template. It has only resources, some hello bucket, and type as S3 bucket. Just say next. You can add a tag, okay, if you want. Just leave it like this, and then you can give a permissions. It's all optional. If you want your CloudFormation template to assume a certain role in IAM role so that it can basically have access to those resources, you can create an IAM role and give access to the CloudFormation template and pass that role here. So the CloudFormation will assume that role and then it will execute based on that role. And there are certain other advanced options like stack policy, right? You can actually create a policy, which will govern, how the CloudFormation template should, life cycle of the CloudFormation template. Okay, I'll not create any CloudFormation policy, stack policy. Rollback, for example, if it fails, it has to roll back, correct? So you can specify the rollback configuration so that if for some reason, for something fails in the execution, it will roll back the entire template. And you can also give a notification, right? You have to create an SNS. SNS is a service within AWS. It's called Simple Notification Service, with which you can send emails, you can send SMS messages and things like that. Okay, so you have to go create an SNS topic, give your email ID, verify the email ID, and then specify the topic here. So whenever the CloudFormation template executes successfully or fails, it will send a notification to that email ID or the SMS. Rollback on failure is enabled. If it fails, it will roll back. Termination protection, nobody can delete this CloudFormation template if you set it to enabled. Okay, just click next. Okay, so now you're good to create the stack. I just go ahead and click on create stack. Okay, so now create S3 bucket stack is created. It's a stack which is created and it is currently running. If you go to the stack info, this is the stack info. And if you go to the events, these are all the events that happened. Create S3 bucket, it will create the hello bucket. Okay, create is in progress, refresh it. You just wait for this to complete. So if you see create is complete, it will show all the events here. And it will also show the resources that were created as part of the CloudFormation template. In this case, the resource that we have created is an S3 bucket. Okay, and it gave a random name to the S3 bucket because I didn't pass any property, right? I didn't pass any S3 bucket name. So it took a random name. Outputs is, there are no outputs that I have defined. If you want, you can also define outputs so that the resources that you create, those resources can, the name of those resources or any additional parameters that you want to, any additional properties that you want to store it as an output, you can store it as an output. I've not passed any parameter. And this is the template that I've used. And these are all the change sets that I have. Okay. So now what we can do is we can just go and review the events. The user has initiated the create S3 bucket CloudFormation. Create is in progress. Resource creation initiated. Hello bucket, and create is complete. Okay, it started at 10:39. It took about 1 second. Sorry, it took about a minute. 10:39, not a minute. Sorry, about 20-30 seconds. 25 seconds it took to complete the execution of the CloudFormation. Now let's go back to the S3 console and let me refresh my S3 console. You will see that a new bucket would be created apart from these 4 buckets. Yeah. Okay, if you see, it has created a new bucket here. See, create S3 bucket, hello bucket, some random character it has taken because I didn't give any name to my bucket, right? So if you don't give any name to your bucket, if you go down, go to the properties, bucket name. What does bucket name says? A name for the bucket. If you don't specify a name, AWS CloudFormation generates a unique ID and uses that ID for the bucket name. Okay. So now the bucket name must contain only lowercase characters, numbers, periods, and dashes. Okay. So now let's do one thing. Let's rerun the same CloudFormation template with the properties. How do you write properties? After type, you have to just give properties here. Properties. Okay. And then what you do is give name, bucket name as, I'm just going to give name of the bucket as RPL CF bucket November 10th. That is the name of the bucket. November 10th. RPL CloudFormation S3 bucket November 10th. That is the name of the bucket that I'm giving. Okay. I'm just saving this. I just saved it. Let me come back. I'll go to my CloudFormation stacks. I'll again create a new stack with new resources. Template is ready. I'll upload the template file. Choose file, create bucket.yaml. Click on next. Stack name is create S3 bucket with name. This is the stack that I'm creating. Next, next, create stack. Okay, right now the stack is getting executed. Let's wait for about 20-30 seconds. Yeah, resource initiation, creation is initiated. Let's just wait for another few more seconds. It should be done. Yeah, so create is complete. So if you see, create S3 bucket with name has been completed. Let me go back to my S3 console and refresh my S3 console. Yeah. Yeah, see, RPL CF S3 bucket November 10th is created. That is the name that I gave, right? RPL CF S3 bucket hyphen November 10th. That is the name that I've given, correct? That's created. Okay, so that's done. So now let me just go and delete all these buckets. Okay, and then you can give you can play around with the properties, right? And you can try it around. I mean, it's not going to charge you anything, right? I mean, it's all free, right? You don't have to worry about getting charged. Okay, so it's all deleted. Okay, and you can basically give, you can pretty much whatever you do using your S3 management console, right? You can do it using the CloudFormation template. Okay, like versioning configuration, you can give versioning, you can give tags, you can give public access block configuration, block or allow, right? You can also do that. If you want to just know what it is, and you will get so many examples also. Okay, and one more thing is, so now when I just created a CloudFormation template, I'll just create another template. I'll just go here. I'll just create a stack. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to upload the file, the same template file. Next, CF template S3 bucket, and just that's the name that I'm giving. Next, create stack. Okay, let it create the stack. November 10th already exists. Okay, I have to give a different name. Just say November 10th, 20. New stack. Upload template file, YAML. Next, create S3 bucket, November 10th. Next, create stack. So if you see here, I made a mistake, so it did a rollback of the entire resources that it provisioned. Okay, so now it's just going to create a new S3 bucket with the name RPL CF S3 bucket hyphen November 10 20. Yeah, so its create is complete. So let me just go back, refresh my S3 bucket list. Yeah, so it created the RPL CF S3 bucket November 10 20. That is the name that we have given, correct? That's the name that we had given. Okay, so now what happens when you delete the stack? Okay, I'm going to basically delete the stack. I'll just go to the stacks. The latest stack that I created is this, correct? November 10. Create S3 bucket November 10. I'll just go and delete the stack. Deleting the stack will delete all stack resources. Okay, that's the warning that it is giving you. So by default, what happens is whatever resources that were provisioned through this template will also get deleted if you delete the stack, because the stack is something that you have to maintain, right? Because you can also update the stack. Now, for example, in this case, I've created a code, YAML code. Now tomorrow I want to change the properties of this bucket. Okay, where I want to basically make it, right now it is public, it's a public bucket. I want to make it a private bucket. If I go ahead and update the stack and re-upload the code, it will go ahead and make the changes to that stack automatically. Okay, I don't have to do anything, right? Every time you don't have to deploy a new stack, right? To an existing stack, you can make changes and redeploy the stack. It's going to go ahead and make the modifications, necessary modifications to the stack. But what if somebody deletes the stack, okay, by mistake? Okay, in fact, there are options to disable the termination protection. If you say enable, nobody will be able to delete the stack accidentally. Termination protection on a stack prevents it from being deleted accidentally. Okay, assume I'm not enabling it. Now if I just go ahead and say delete, let's see what happens. I'm just going to delete the stack. See, that stack is gone. Okay, because it's deleted. But what will happen to the resources? Okay, let me just go to S3 console and then I will just refresh this. See that S3 bucket is also gone because it is created as part of the stack. The moment I deleted the parent stack, the resources associated with that is also gone. So now, how do you prevent it from being deleted? If you add this deletion policy as retain, right? If you put the deletion policy as retain, after type, okay, and I'm just saving it. Now let me go ahead and recreate it. I'm just saying it as number 2020. Add a new bucket name to it. Okay, so now if I just go ahead and create a stack, upload a template file, choose this file, next, give a name to it, S3 bucket deletion policy. Next, create stack. So wait for 20 seconds for the stack to get created. You should be able to see the S3 bucket coming in here. Yeah, it's created already. S3 bucket is created. Let's wait for the stack to complete. Yeah, so stack is created successfully. S3 bucket deletion policy, and we also have the S3 bucket created November 10th 2020. Okay, let me go and delete this stack. I'm going to delete this stack. Okay, it'll give the standard warning, but that's okay. I'll just go ahead and delete the stack. Yeah, the stack is deleted, but what happens to the S3 bucket? S3 bucket doesn't get deleted. Okay, unlike last time when we deleted the stack, the S3 associated S3 bucket also got deleted, right? But in this case, it does not get deleted because we have the deletion policy as retain. So it will just retain the resources, irrespective of whether the stack is deleted or not. By mistake, if somebody builds a complete infrastructure and deletes it, I mean, it will lead to a catastrophe, correct? It's a disaster. So in that case, it's a best practice to always retain deletion policy to be maintained as retain. Okay, so that's, so yeah, so you can just read through this, right? But now let's go back to our WordPress example. Okay, in fact, I'll quickly show you updating a stack. Okay, I just deleted it. But what you can do is you can simply create it and you can again re-upload the same file into the stack and then update it. It will just go ahead and update that stack automatically. Okay, so now let's just do the WordPress example. Okay, I'm here. I'll just go create a stack. Okay, for this step, you use a sample template that is already prepared. The sample template creates a basic WordPress block that uses a single Amazon EC2 instance with a local MySQL database for storage. The template also creates an Amazon EC2 security group to control firewall settings for the Amazon EC2 instance. Okay, so now if you go back here, use a sample template. You see, this is the sample template that it creates, that AWS has created for you. Okay, if you see, read document for template version, description, parameters, database name, database password, database root password, database user, what are the instance types that are allowed. Always use t2.micro. Key name, what key name you want to use, SSH location, mappings. So much of thing has gone into this. Yeah. If you see, starting this, it's going to create these resources. Like it's going to create an EC2 instance. It's going to, it's going to install WordPress, configure WordPress. Okay, where is install WordPress? If I search for this install WordPress, yeah, see, okay, so it's going to install the WordPress into this, like what we did now last time. We copied the where HTML WordPress, but somewhere I'm just looking where it downloads the WordPress. Okay, I think the template has got the WordPress already installed in it. Yeah, sources, see, it's basically downloading the WordPress from here, from the sources. Okay, if you search the sources, yeah. Okay. Anyways, it's a pretty complicated, I mean, YAML template, but you can just make use of it. And all of you should actually go through this YAML template and understand how CloudFormation works, right? So now let me just use the sample template. You don't need to download it because you will use the template URL later in this guide. Okay. So what you can do is you can just give this template here, right? I'm just going to give the YAML. I'm going to right click, copy link location. I'm going here. I'm going to give the URL here directly. Okay, this is basically in US West 2, right? Yeah, that's okay. That's fine. The template is present in US West 2, but it's a publicly accessible URL, right? If I just access it here, I'm able to get the template here, correct? So let me use that, and then I'll say next. I'll say WordPress blog CF stack. That's the name of the stack that I'm giving. Okay. My database name is WordPress database. Database password is, I'll just give password. DB root password is password. DB user is, I'll give WordPress only. Okay, this is also password. The WordPress data admin account username, right? Okay, I'll just give WordPress only. WRDPRESS. Instance type, I want to select t2.micro. So now if you see, these are all fields that are coming from my parameters. If you look at my template, I'll just copy this entire template, put it in a, save it as YAML. WordPress dot YAML. So if you see here, all these parameters, if you search for parameters, right? First is DB name. That's what you're getting here, correct? If you go here, DB name. Okay. And it is asking, it also has a title. Description is WordPress database name. Okay. And then what is the type of that? Allowed pattern is, it can allow a regular expression pattern of A to Z, A to Z, A to Z, A to Z, 0 to 9 star. Correct? It must begin with a letter and contain only alphanumeric. That is the description that you're giving. So when you just okay, and then it is minimum length is 1, maximum length is 64, and it's a type of string. So it'll give a text box here, and it'll ask you to enter that here. Okay, yeah, by default it has default value for that is WordPress DB. That's the default value that you have. If you want, you can change this default value here. You will see it something else. Similarly, password. Okay, DB password is allowed pattern is A to Z 09. Okay, and then when you say no echo true, which means you have to use it for passwords, so that you get dot 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 star 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 star. So these are all the parameters that you're passing, and then you also have a parameter here for instance type. Instance type, when you say allowed values, you can just give -t1 micro, t2 micro, and all of that. So these are all the allowed values that you have. Okay, if you want, you can edit this to make it only t2.micro, so that you don't make any mistake of selecting other things. I'm going to delete everything here. Okay, I'm just going to delete everything here. Yeah, by default, it's only t2.micro, and default is also t2.micro. Okay, I will just save it. Let me come back. I'll just go to stacks. I'll create a new stack from the file that I have. Template is ready. Upload the file. It's the same file, correct? WordPress.yaml. I'll just go click next. Yeah, I'll just give a stack name. CF WordPress template stack. WordPress DB. Password is password. DB root password is password. DB user is WordPress. T2.micro. You see, I see only T2.micro because I've deleted all the others from here. And default is also T2.micro. Okay, T2.micro. Key name. Okay, I will use my RPL Mumbai lab as the key name. Okay, if you see here key name, it is type is AWS EC2 key pair key name. So what it does is it brings all the keys from your account from that region, and then it will list it down here. Okay, I have three keepers. I'll just use RPL Mumbai lab. Okay, and then SSH location, it should allow which location to allow for SSH. I'll just give 0000. Okay, and then I'll say next. Okay, I'll just say next. I'm not sure whether it's going to create a VPC or not. Let's see. Let's wait and watch what it does. Okay, I'll just say next. Yeah, see, these are my parameters that I passed. Okay, password, WordPress T2 micro. Key name is RPL Mumbai lab and SSH location is 0000. I'll just go ahead and create the stack. Unable to get mapping for AP South 1, HVM64. Okay, probably the template is not there. Okay, so AP South. Okay, AP South 1 is not there. Okay, I will just add AP South 1 here, because see, this template was originally intended for US East 1, so that's why. And you don't have the AP South 1 here in this template. Okay, I'll just add AP South 1 here, and then I have to give the AMI IDs for the AP South 1 for my Amazon Linux 2. Okay, I'll just say AP South 1, and then I will go to EC2 console. In the EC2 console, I'll just launch an EC2 instance and then copy the AMI ID from there. Okay, I'll just copy this AMI ID because the virtualization type is HVM, right? HVM64. I'll just use this. Okay, HVM64 is this one. I don't want this actually. I don't want HVM G2 and PV64. Okay, para virtualization. I don't need para virtualization. I'll just go for HVM for now. Okay, I'll just select that. I'll delete these two. I'll just select and save because this is the template AMI that I wanted to use, correct? Okay, so let me just go back and then let me cancel it. I'll create a stack from scratch, upload a template file, choose file, WordPress.yaml, next, CF template, WordPress, DB password is password, DB root password is password, DB user is WordPress, T2.micro, key name, we just select RPL Mumbai lab, next, create stack. Yeah, so stack creation has started. Okay, so let's wait and watch what all it creates. It'll take a few minutes. So it's a huge stack. Okay, web server security group is created. Okay, VPC ID not specified. Okay, so we need to also specify the VPC ID, it looks like. Okay, let me go back, look at my documentation. Okay, it's asking me to create the key name, which is there. I already have the key name, and then create the stack. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's actually use the stacks, and let's create a stack from the sample stack that is available. I'm going to clean up all of this. Let me just delete all of this. Delete stack, delete stack, keep it clean. Just delete all of these stacks. Yeah, so it's clean. Let me just go create a stack, use a sample template. Let me just select the sample template as WordPress blog. Okay, it's going to actually store it in. This is the template. Yeah, so this is the template for that particular region, because I'm right now in AP South 1, right? So this is the template that it has. And if you see that specific AMI ID, I should be able to find it there. CCB. Okay, let's see. Anyways, so let's just select it and let me go click on next. CF WordPress blog site. Okay, WordPress DB password is password. DB root password is password. DB user is WORDPRESS WordPress. And yeah, I'll select t2.micro, not small. Key name is RPL Mumbai Lab. SSH location is this. Click next. Yeah. Just create stack. Let's see whether it goes through this time, or we have to take the template and modify it, add VPC to that. Okay, we know what is failing where. Okay, so VPC is failing. No default VPC for this user. So it uses a default VPC. You remember, we deleted our default VPC. I think it's time to bring it back. Otherwise, you have to edit the template. So which is the quickest one? Either you bring back the default VPC or use a different region. Okay, I'm going to use probably I'll use Oregon. Okay, I'll just go to the Oregon region, which has a default VPC in it, right? If you all have a default VPC in Mumbai region itself, use that. Otherwise, you can use a different region, but clean it up later on. Okay, don't leave it like that. Otherwise, what I have to do is I have to go edit this template and add the VPC parameters to this. Right now, it is assuming that it is using the default VPC. But otherwise, I'll have to go ahead and modify all of that, which is a time consuming job. I can do it and give it to you later. But for right now, let's just do it. Here it has a default VPC. See, if you have it has a default VPC in it. Okay, I think this is a good region for us to do our lab exercise. I'm not sure in your accounts you have the default VPC or not. If you have your default VPC, do it in Mumbai region itself. Otherwise, you choose a different region. Because I remember asking you to delete the default VPC last time and don't use the default VPC. Use a sample template, select WordPress blog, Okay, US West 2. It automatically picks up the template from US West 2. Okay, which is Oregon. Click next. CF WordPress blog site. WordPress DB password is password. DB root password is password. DB user is WordPress. Select T2.micro. Don't select other things. You'll be charged. And select a key name. Okay, I don't have a key name. Okay, first let me first create the key name and come. Go to EC2. In the region, first let me create a key. Key pairs. Create a key pair. I'll just create RPL underscore Oregon lab PEM file. Or you can directly create a PPK also if you want to use it with PuTTY. Okay, so when you create a key pair, okay, I think I didn't show you this earlier. I mean, we just created it from the EC2 wizard. But if you want to create a key pair, when you can go click on create key pairs, give a name to the key pair, and you can download it either with a PEM format or PPK format. If you want to use it with PuTTY, just download it with the PPK format. Or if you want to use it with OpenSSH or Ubuntu or any other terminal, you can use it with PEM format. Okay, so that's something that you can do. Right? For now, I'll just download it using PEM format. So you will avoid that additional step of using PuTTY gen to convert it from PEM to PPK. Create key pair, save the file. I'm just going to move the file from here to my keys directory. I just moved it there. Okay, all right, so it's created. So let me just come back to CloudFormation. Create a stack. Let's use a sample template. WordPress blog, simple. Select under simple, WordPress blog. Don't go for multi-AZ. Okay, this will use RDS and it will be chargeable. Use this WordPress blog, the simple one. Click next. See your WordPress site. DB password is password. DB root password is password. DB user is WordPress. Instance type is t2.micro. Key name, select your key name. So such location is leave it default. Next, create stack. Let's see, hopefully it goes through this time because I have the default VPC available as is. I have not disturbed my default VPC. Yeah. Yeah, so it's creating the security group. If you see, it has created the security group. If you go to your security groups, you'll see that the security group would have got created. And it has launched the EC2 instance also. If you see, it has launched the EC2 instance. If you go to security groups, yeah, you see this, it has created a new security group. You have a default, but it has not disturbed the default. It has created a new security group, which has inbound rules as 0000 for both HTTP and SSH. Outbound rules is 0000. Yeah, so it's just going ahead and creating the web server now. Okay, if you in the EC2 management console, if you go to instances, you will see that it has provisioned a new EC2 instance, which is running SSH, which is running the WordPress. And what is the key it is using? It is using the RPL Oregon lab key, which we gave as an input to the CloudFormation. Okay, so let it run. We'll just wait for this to complete. Okay, it's completed. So if you see, the CF WordPress site is complete. Okay, it has created. So now let's just look at the resources that it has created. It created two resources, one web server security group and web server EC2 instance. Okay, output is, if you see, this is the output it has given, website URL. Okay, you just click this output. Yeah, you see WordPress website is up and running. I'll just create RPL training labs. I'll just use the same username is, I'll just give admin, password is password, confirm use of weak password. For the thing, I will just copy, just come back to the user email ID. Yeah, and install WordPress. Yeah, it's done. I'll just log in. Admin, password, remember me, log me in. Yeah, so got your WordPress site up and running. Okay, now you can go to your EC2 console, grab this IP address, go to a different browser, just say this /WordPress. Yeah, this is the public website which is running. Hello World RPL Training Labs. Okay, so yeah, I mean, see, CloudFormation is so powerful, right? I mean, whatever we did last time, we are able to, whatever 50 minutes or 1 hour that we did, we were able to complete it in less than 5 minutes. If you have the right resources, if you have the right details, if you see, it started at 10:47:37, completed at 10:49:06, 2 minutes, less than 2 minutes. Start to end, it was able to provision the complete stack in less than 2 minutes. Okay, so now that's basically the thing. And if you go to the template, you can review this template. You can view this in the designer also. Yeah, see, it's creating a web server and it's creating a web server instance. So let's, okay, let's just exit this. So CloudFormation is very, very powerful. It gives you the XML or JSON, right? And we've just seen an example where it provisioned a complete WordPress website in less than 2 minutes. Okay, whereas it took about, how long? It took about 10 minutes last time, correct? Or not 10 minutes, sorry, 1 hour last time when we did it manually. Okay, so what I can do is I can just simply go delete it. I'll just delete the stack. So when I delete the stack, it's also going to delete all the associated resources. Okay, like the EC2 instance. Yeah, you see it is shutting down and it will delete, it will terminate that EC2 instance. This is no longer accessible because it's gone. Yeah, so it's terminated. And let's look at the security group, what was created. That should also be gone. Yeah, see, it's gone. Security group is also deleted. Yeah, so it's all gone completely. It's gone. If I want, I can again do it once again. Let's do it just for the sake of fun. Create stack, use a sample template, and let's just take a note of the time, 10:54:40, correct? Okay. WordPress blog. Next, create a name, new WordPress blog. Parameters, DB password, DB root password, DB user, WordPress, t2.micro, key name, use your key name. That's it. Next, create stack. Yeah, its creation is in progress. Let's just give it a minute, a couple of minutes. We started at 10:54:40 or something. Let's just give it one more minute. Let this complete, and then we should be able to access our brand new WordPress blog site. Yeah, here we go. It's done. It's done in about 2 minutes. 2.5 minutes, it's done. Okay, so now if you go to the EC2 console, look for the public IP address of the EC2 instance. Come, paste the public IP address /WordPress. Yeah, here you go. RPL Training Labs, username admin, password, confirm. Done. Just log in, admin, password, login. Yeah, here you go. It's installed. Open another browser. Install it. Yeah, WordPress site is up and running in less than 2 minutes. See, that's the power. That's the power of automation, and that's the power of using CloudFormation templates. Okay, so I'm done with this. Let me just go ahead and delete this entire stack. I'll just delete the stack. Yeah, so delete is in progress. It's going to terminate the EC2 instance as well. It's terminating, it's shutting down. Okay, cool. So that's kind of quite exciting. So now let's do one thing. Let's open our template, save as, I'm going to give the assignment for today. Assignment and reading for today. AWS CloudFormation. I'll give you the links. Okay, read through this, and under the getting started, you can follow. Okay, I'm going to give you those steps so that you don't get confused. Okay, and then I'll also give you the reference, template reference. Okay, yeah, this is the template reference guide where you go get all the property reference and everything out here from here. Template reference guide. Okay. Yeah, let me go back here. Yeah, so this is again the template reference guide. Yeah, okay, got it. So now what you can do is you can just create assignments for today. The sample template to create an S3 bucket. Create S3 bucket. Yeah. This is the code. Okay, just open CloudFormation console. Create a stack. Create a stack. Use template is ready. Select template is ready and upload a template file. .yaml. Okay, click next. Click next. Give a name to the template. Next till finish. Create stack. Okay, the S3 bucket with the name will be created. Okay, so that's like the first assignment. Next one is create a WordPress blog site using CloudFormation. Sample template. Okay, prerequisite is ensure you have the default VPC available in Mumbai region, else use a different region to complete this assignment. Post completion, delete the CloudFormation stack and clean up all the resources to avoid unnecessary billing. Okay, so the first step is use a sample template, create stack, use a sample template, and then select simple WordPress blog. Simple WordPress blog. Yeah, simple WordPress blog, and say next. Click next. Give a stack name. Yeah, DB password. Give a DB password. DB root password and DB name, username. I use WordPress here. Okay, that's the DB username, and then select instance type as t2.micro only. t2.micro. Okay, and then select your key name. Select your key where if it doesn't exist, create one. Then leave the SSH location as it is. Click next to finish to create stack. Okay. Once the stack is created, you should see the EC2 instance provisioned with public IP address, and then go to the output in the CloudFormation stack. Go to the output section tab where you will find the URL for accessing your WordPress blog site. Once complete, delete the stack and ensure all resources are cleaned up. Very, very important. Okay. Okay, I'm going to give this to all of you. So please get into your breakout rooms and do the assignment for today. Yeah, I've sent it. Okay, so yeah, I mean, you can go and do your assignment. If you have any issues, I mean, if you have any further doubts or clarifications, you can ask me tomorrow. We'll spend some time tomorrow for clarifying any of the doubts or any clarifications that you might have. Okay, so subsequently, what we are going to cover is in this week is, we're going to cover the DevOps topics, right? I mean, what are the management tools, DevOps tools, and things like that. We're going to cover those. So those are going to be interesting. CloudWatch, Config, CloudTrail Systems Manager. So these are some of the tools that you need to know about in AWS. I'm also going to cover, code build, code deploy. Okay, that's also an interesting topic which goes hand in hand with CloudFormation. So we're going to cover those sometime this week. And next week, we're going to build a complete application on AWS, a complete end-to-end application on AWS. Okay, which will use auto scaling, which will use a high availability architecture. Right now, what we have done is we had just simply built one single node of EC2 instance and one single RDS, right? So we are going to build a complete end-to-end WordPress site. And in case if one node goes down, how will the other nodes still be able to serve the request? That is something that we're going to see next week. Week after next week, we're going to build complete serverless application on AWS. It's going to be very, very fun. And we will use Python, Node.js, Lambda, DynamoDB, right? And SNS, SQS, Cognito, API gateway, right? And we will build a complete microservices architecture on AWS, and we'll deploy a full serverless sample web page on web application on AWS. That is the lab that we're going to do for the next couple of weeks. So next couple of weeks is going to be full of fun, right? I mean, in fact, we've been doing a lot of hands-on assignments all along, but next couple of weeks, you are going to actually see the power of, whatever you have learned so far. You're going to actually put it in action, build a complete end-to-end application, which will make you sound so confident when you attend interviews and when you actually go for job selections. Okay, cool. All right then. So I'll probably take a pause here. I'll see you all tomorrow, and you can come back tomorrow and then ask any doubts that you might have. We'll dedicate some time tomorrow for doubts and clarifications. I think I've shared the IAM PPT earlier. You don't have it? Okay, I can resend that. I'll resend the entire PPT once again.
Sir, can you share the DZone Cloud link, sir?
Sure, I am going to send
Okay.
that. Okay, DZone, and there's one more that I said I'll share, right? What was that? It's just dzone.com. That's it.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
I'm just pasting all of those URLs in the chat. dzone.com, medium.com. Okay, and okay, AWS CLI. I think I gave the AWS CLI earlier examples. The link for AWS CLI examples I had given earlier. So you can just open that and bookmark that. I'm pasting it once again. So open that, bookmark that. It will be very useful. I mean, do those exercises, follow that, you'll be able to understand it. Okay. All right. Thanks all. So I think we're good for today. I'll see you all tomorrow, right? And we'll speak more about the automation tools tomorrow. And there's a lot more in the automation space in AWS tomorrow that we're going to cover. So we'll speak about that tomorrow. And I'll let you all go into the breakout rooms. Okay. Thanks, Sai Krishna. Thanks, mentors. I think the breakout rooms can be opened. Sai Ram.
Sure, Anna. Thank you, Anna. Thank you for your time, Saya. Yeah, let's open the breakout room now.